Joining me now is author and political commentator Shamika Michelle.
When God looked at man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. He gave him a woman. He didn't give him a village. He didn't give him the community. He said, be fruitful and multiply to this man and this woman. So it's supposed to be God, husband, wife.
If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always done.
Hello, and happy Monday. I am Shamika Michelle, your host of Shaking My Head with Shamika Michelle. And I hope you all made it through Snowmageddon, Ice-mageddon. I'm not exactly sure what you may be calling it in your neck of the woods. I am seeing pictures of Nashville. Looks like they were pummeled, but I know people in that area who weren't affected really at all. We've had so many accidents around here. Thankfully, we kept power. Everyone that I know kept power. I was prepared either way, but I'm so glad we had power because I'm generally cold, which is why also you may see this heater sitting right here. You may hear it. You may hear me turn it off and on because it's like kind of burning my arm right now. It's so high. Maybe I'll turn it to low, but I want to make sure you all know that it's a heater and it's not it's not a smoke alarm going off, because I know, the stereotype that Black people can do anything but change the battery in their smoke alarm. And I am honestly one of the people who can't stand to just constantly hear it beep. I don't understand how people ignore it. You will talk to them in May and then you'll talk to them again in July and it's the same smoke alarm beeping. I'm not one of these people. Now, there is one in my bedroom. The bedroom ceilings are very vaulted. It's not easy to get to. But generally, I am one of the people who like to change it. I'm Black, but I just can't listen to it. I can't block it out. Even if I'm on the phone with somebody else, I can't block out their beeping. It's annoying. So anyway, again, thank you for being here on this Monday. I want to let you all know that today we are talking about kind of the great replacement theory, but not so much as most people normally like to frame it. A lot of times you hear, especially when it comes to illegal immigration, that white people are upset about it because they don't want to be replaced. They want to get out anybody from America who isn't white. If you aren't white, you have to leave. White people are scared of being replaced. Well, while that may be true for some white people, I do think it is a bigger, deeper issue that most people want to talk about, most people want to put out in the open, simply because if you make this just about white people, there are enough Black people or people of color. I was about to say colored people, but people of color who will just focus on white people and not focus on the dangers of illegal immigration and how it actually hurts us as Black Americans just as much, if not more, than the whites. We always like to point the finger to the whites, and it's the white man. The white man got his foot on our neck. The white man is why we aren't as successful as we would like to be. The white. So there are enough people who will just focus on the whites without actually looking to see how this affects us as Black people. This is where we're going to start. I have an investigative series that I'm still waiting on the investigator to put the final touches on to send to me. But I want to talk about this because it's something that I have been noticing for a while. But I want to play this clip from. I used to be a part of a podcast called Cut the Bull, and we had an opportunity to do a show with Tucker Carlson. And so I'm just going to play this clip for you because I feel like Tucker went there with a group of Black people and we had a conversation. Please go back and check out the entire conversation. It was really good. But he touched on something that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge. And so I just want to play this clip for you. I was having some issues when I was trying to bring it up of getting it to pause and make sure the volume is up. Here, I think it is. Listen to Tucker's take on the great replacement theory and how it actually harms Blacks as well.
They say white replacement theory.
You're right.
How honest do you want to be? It's Black replacement. I mean, I'm just like, I'm
Right.
from California. Look this up. In 1990, Los Angeles was 10% Black. It's now 7% Black.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The city of San Francisco always had a thriving Black community. It's gone. Compton in LA was the largest Black community west of the Mississippi. It's now Spanish speaking. So the truth is that these waves of immigration really affect I said they affect all poor people. That was a little disingenuous. They don't affect you that much if you live in rural Maine.
Mm-hmm.
They affect you a ton if you live in Compton. And this idea, and only white liberals, being totally blunt, is the group that I'm maddest at, believe that like everyone who's not white is exactly the same. Like that's insane. I lived in DC. We had a huge influx of Ethiopians and Eritreans. Now, I always liked them. They're I don't know if you've ever met any, but they're very impressive people, super hardworking. A lot of them are serious Christians, which is important to me. So I really like the Ethiopians and I like their food. Holy smokes, guess who didn't like the Ethiopians? DC was 70% Black when I was a kid. Native born Americans, all been here, 400 years, whatever, just Americans. The tension between those two groups was like insane, but nobody ever wanted to say anything about it. And I always felt like, maybe some of them are preachers in town or their political leaders should like pipe up on behalf of their voters and their congregants to speak up for them. But nobody ever did.
That's never going to happen.
It's kind of not my fight, but I just watched this happen and I was like, you're kind of selling people out, honestly. I'm just being blunt.
And yes, I do feel like we are being sold out. I have this issue because I'm watching across the nation. I'm watching mainly white liberals out fighting ICE. But we talked about and we discussed last week and probably the week before that how they are trying to pull on the heartstrings of Black Americans for us to make this our fight as well. I saw someone talk about how racist it was when Trump was talking about Haitians eating cats and dogs or whatever, and how Black Americans should be sticking up for Haitians. We should be sticking up for Somalians. We should be sticking up for immigrants of all immigrants, right? Because the claim is, well, your ancestors weren't wanted in this country either. So you need to actually be fighting for these people who are trying to get a better. I don't buy into that. I don't give two flips about making me feel some type of way because you want to say my ancestors. First of all, some of my ancestors were already here, Native Americans. And then there are those who were slaves. And then I have white ancestors. So my ancestors go across the board. I'm sure there are so many Black Americans here who can say the same. So I don't feel like I have to take one specific position just because of one group of my ancestors. I don't feel that way. One of the things, though, that I have noticed and I'm seeing over the years, and this, y'all know, sometimes I just want to have a conversation. Like we can talk together. I'm not coming in any type of authority, but I'm just talking about some things that I notice that concern me. I noticed that when I was a young girl, the good old days, saying young girl just, I don't know, it did something to me on the inside. But I remember being in the first grade, and there was this little boy in my class, Sekou Mendez, but he was the only different person in the class. I think that he was Hispanic and Black, but the rest of us were all Black. That was the first and last time until I got into the 9th grade that I was in a classroom with anyone who wasn't just considered Black or, but I look at that experience and I look then and compare my children experience to how many people that they've gone to school with. One being the high school that I graduated from, Hillside High School here in Durham, North Carolina, which is a predominantly Black high school, or at least it used to be. I look at the difference in how it was when I was in school. My uncle, who was there years before myself, and then what it's like now. From I think it was just recently, a year or two ago, they had their first Hispanic Miss Hillside, and I, just being honest, I was annoyed because it's a predominantly Black high school. It was always predominantly Black. And I just felt like there should not be a Hispanic Miss Hillside. It's the way that I felt. Sorry, not sorry if you have an issue with it. I also think back to, we used to have a Black hospital here called Lincoln Hospital. It was for Black people. When Lincoln Hospital went out of business, it became Lincoln Community Health Center. And I remember going to Lincoln Community Health Center, which was still at the time predominantly Black, to receive health care. And it felt like family. You could go in and they had frames on the wall of different kids in the communities. You could look at the people in the pictures and say, oh, that's so and so, and I was in 3rd grade with them, or that's so and so, I was in 6th grade with him. And that's just the way it was. You go to Lincoln Community Health Center now, it is literally like walking into Guadalajara. It has changed dramatically. Not only is it like walking into Guadalajara, the people who work there are Guadalajarians or whatever they're called. They are, and they look at you as if you are the stranger in their land. You are the person that isn't supposed to be there. I was driving the other day and I rode past my best friend's old house. And I know that it's full of immigrants now. I don't know whether they are illegal or not, but it was a yard full of chickens. And I'm talking about in a predominantly Black neighborhood right across the street from the projects. It was a yard full of chickens. And the chickens were coming out into the street, like we had to slow down, and it was a literal, why did the chicken cross the road? And then the street that I grew up on, we have many Hispanic families, and they didn't used to be there, right? So this is something that I'm noticing. I also understand, I believe now that Hispanics are 19% of the population here in America. It didn't used to be that way. Blacks are at a steady number. We have been at 12, 13% of the population for a very long time. Part of that is, some people would say, oh, people aren't having kids. I understand that, especially in places like New York, we kill more Black babies than are born every year. I get that as well. But I just want to have a conversation because I see, as I just stated, so many people want Black people to join this fight, be out here fighting ICE, trying to get rid of illegal immigrants. And I just want to know, am I the only one witnessing the change? Am I the only one just being honest? I don't like the change. Am I the only one that feels like Black people are being pushed out because of the change, out of our own neighborhoods, out of our own communities? Why are we the ones that have to share space, share jobs, share schools? And I might get in trouble because even as I talk, as I hear myself speak, I sound racist or xenophobic, whatever people want to, whatever title they want to put on it. But I'm seeing the change, and I feel like the people who are pushing us to accept, pushing us to fight this, they aren't affected up close and personal. They are protesting and then going back to their gated communities, protesting and then going back to their group of people who aren't directly affected. Their jobs aren't affected. Their housing isn't affected. Their schools are the same. Am I the only one seeing this difference? We reposted the clip that I just shared with Tucker Carlson a couple of weeks ago, and I saw a lot of people angry because this was a white man saying this. I saw a lot of Black people having an issue because this was a white man saying this. I did see some American-born Black people saying, let him cook, who also clearly noticed the immigration issue and how it's affecting the Black community. But then there were people that just mad because it was a white man addressing it. And again, going or playing to the narrative that the only reason he's saying something about it is because they want to keep America white or want America to be predominantly white. And I am just having a hard time ignoring the fact that we have a country full of immigrants and I don't see us benefiting. I actually feel like the elites, many Democrats are doing this on purpose, really trying to replace Black Americans. And if they get enough immigrants in who are loyal to the Democrat Party, everything that Black people are saying, we're fighting for this, we want this type of change, you're going to be asked out because no one's going to care. And the idea, you all get mad when you hear the term pull yourself up by your bootstraps and you say, what if I don't have boots? Nobody's going to care whether you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps, whether you have boots at all. Nobody is going to give a fat baby's behind. And you are fighting, in my opinion, on the wrong side. And you are being manipulated by liberal white people to join a fight that isn't yours, to be on a side that you shouldn't be on. And you get mad when we hear terms like Black jobs. But I think this is an honest conversation that we should have, because as much as Black people have advanced, as much as we have lawyers and doctors and engineers, we still have some people at the bottom of the totem pole. We still have people in these lower income communities who are being pushed out and affected. And for the people who like to yell, Black Power, write this up, I just want to know, do you see what's happening? Again, this investigation goes a bit deeper than just the Black community. As some finishing touches are being put on it, I should have it to actually really dive into the series tomorrow. But I want to talk about what is happening when we allow so many immigrants into the Black community. I want to talk about Blacks today specifically, not as props, but just because I feel like the policy outcomes affect us unevenly. This is a genuine concern, genuine question, and I want to talk about what Tucker talked about in the video. How it's not just white people who are becoming a minority. Because many of us as Black Americans who were raised here in America, our ancestors go back generations, we hold a lot of the same values. Although we're constantly being told and tricked out of believing and understanding we do, we hold a lot of the same values. So just as we heard a white man saying they're eating the dogs or whatever, we are not dog eaters. We are not, we eat normal, regular American cuisine just as the white people. There are a lot of cultural differences between people of other countries that I don't care if we have a similar skin color, we just don't share. There are values that people from different countries have that we just don't have, regardless of the fact that they are supposed to be people of color or the same color as us. This whole idea that we've bought into, this all skin folk ain't kin folk, but we have that for people here in America. We should be applying that to some of these immigrants. That we may share a similar color, but we don't have the same morals, we don't have the same values, and we have a lot of cultural differences. I have more in common with some American white people than I have from people coming in from Africa whose skin color looks like mine, or people coming in from Haiti whose skin color looks like mine, or people coming in from Jamaica whose skin color looks like mine. So when I talk about the great replacement theory, although today I'm talking about Black people, it's really a bigger picture, because I personally feel like they're trying to infiltrate Western civilization and change it as we know it now, as it once was. And honestly, what I would prefer it to stay and be for my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. I want to discuss how it affects our labor and wages. I want to acknowledge how it affects our neighborhoods. And I want us to be honest about how it affects our politics. How it can really be stealing our voice as we sit here and turn a blind eye and pretend like we don't see it. Now, we can argue motive, but I think that we have to be honest about the scale of things. things have changed from that one little mixed Hispanic in first grade to a Hispanic Miss Hillside from the high school I graduated from, the predominantly Black high school I graduated from. Things are changing. And I think we should be honest about that. Let's talk about the unauthorized population estimate. Pew estimates 14 million unauthorized immigrants came in 2023. That was a record. It says the increase from 10 million in 2021 to 14 million in 2023 is the biggest 2-year jump in the estimate series. I think that is something that we need to be paying attention to. Not simply based on skin color, but culturally, what are we allowing to happen to America? First, to the Blacks, who they are saying, you need to get on board. You need to be fighting this fight. Our culture, our neighborhoods, our politics, and then America in the big picture. And I'm not saying these numbers prove replacement. It's my opinion that it is. But I'm not necessarily saying this, but I am saying we can't ignore the demographic change. And I don't think we can ignore the negative aspects of that demographic change. And we can run with the whole white man bad, the whites are out to get us. We can run with that. But I just don't think that's true. I don't think it's accurate. And I think it's going to keep us turning a blind eye until it's too late. For a lot of the people who feel like, oh, America is a racist country, it needs to be torn down, it needs to be taken over, it needs to be fixed. It's easy to say that while you're still living in comfort, while you're still living in safety, while you still have the things that you're used to having, the comforts and the amenities of the America that we grew up in. It's easy to sit around and let people keep your attention and brainwash you while you're comfortable. I do not think if we actually allow America to fall, that we would be happy about that. I don't think we would be happy. I don't think we would be comfortable. And I don't think we would be okay. I think this is something that we need to pay attention to. And I'm not trying to say that competition is racist. I do believe it's economic. And I'm just talking to you all about some experiences that I have seen with my own eyes. There was a young lady who had been in a house that she was renting for a while, not really having many issues, comfortable in a Black neighborhood, who I watched be pushed out because the owner of the home wanted to get more money. And they knew you get, let's say, a single Black mom who's paying $1,100 a month in comparison to 2, 3, 4 grown Hispanic men working under the table who can pay $1,700 a month. Who is this homeowner going to rent to? Who are they going to rent to? So it's not about racism, it's about economics and how it is affecting us economically. I'm seeing some of the lower income homes here in my own city, low income people not be able to live there. They just can't afford it. And they're moving to surrounding towns or cities away from family, away from friends, because they just can't afford to live in their own communities anymore. And this isn't, I'm not even talking about gentrification. That's a whole different topic. I'm talking about being replaced by the same people white liberals are telling you you have to be fighting for. You have to put your black body between ICE or immigration policies and these immigrants, when it's not truly benefiting you at all. And I think we have to start asking the question, who is it benefiting? Because Black people, it's not you. As much as you like to say things like, oh, well, who's gonna cut our grass, or who's going to pick the berries? Who is it benefiting? It's not you. And I think that's an honest conversation that we need to have. The overall long run impacts and what it's doing to us as Native Americans. And I'm not talking about Native in the sense of the Indians. I'm talking about people who, this is our country. Who's benefiting? If it's not benefiting you, and you can be honest and say it's not benefiting me, I don't think it's a fight that we need to be a part of. I think we have to be honest about the negative impacts. How is it affecting our schooling? There, you know, we like to always talk about how inner city schools don't have the proper resources. They don't have the books or the resources that some of the other schools have. And we constantly like to say this is why our kids sometimes perform at lower levels. However, when you have mass immigration, they're coming into your schools, these lower income neighborhoods and schools where resources are already limited. Then consider the amount of money that has to go into making sure that these kids are learning just as low income Black kids, especially when they don't speak the language, when their parents don't speak the language. Money that could be going to you, money that could be used for resources for your children, are now having to go to make sure they have some type of English, Spanish speaking staff member, teacher, to benefit these immigrants. Who's benefiting Black people? It's not you. It's not benefiting you in schools. It's not benefiting you in your neighborhoods, but someone is benefiting. And I think we have to open our eyes and see exactly who that is and stop playing around with what's happening, what we are witnessing before our very eyes. Black Americans are disproportionately represented in some lower wage labor segments. That's just the truth. Again, as much as we have overcome, as much Black excellence as we have, we are still disproportionately represented in lower wage segments of the community. That's just what it is. So if negative wage pressure exists at the bottom, even modest Black households can be among those exposed and impacted first. That's not a talking point. This is just how this works. And I'm trying to get us to step out of the emotionalism of it all for a moment and just go into the facts. So even if you want to say, maybe you personally aren't impacted, but if we are right fists up, Black power, you can't keep turning a blind eye to the burden of illegal immigration and the burden it is having on the lower income aspects of our community first. You can't keep turning a blind eye to it. And as I stated earlier, I just kind of want to get your feedback before we go into this deep investigative series, because there may be people here saying, Shamika, you're shaking your head for nothing. You're shaking your head for no reason. We're going to be fine. We can handle millions and millions of immigrants coming in. They're going to pick the berries. They're going to cut the grass. And one of my frustrations is the lie that Black people have just all moved on up. Everybody hasn't been the Jeffersons. There are still some Evans around, and the Evans are struggling because the Menendez are moving in. I'm just saying. Everybody want to be George and Wheezy and moved on up, but it's not the reality. Sounds good, but it's not the reality. And a lot of people say, oh, well, Black people don't want to work. Who's going to do it? Because I'm not going to clean toilets. I'm not cleaning toilets. But I do believe that there are some people who would clean toilets if they had to eat, if they had to do that to have a place to stay. Hey, Melina. Hey, TJ, the conservative. You said you're all good in South Carolina. I'm so good that you all made it through. Thank you, Pete. It's so funny how I can hear it on the phone. I don't know what you're talking about, Sharisa. I know you say you type slow, but I don't always be reading this. Tony says illegals come in this country and take jobs, and the jobs they don't take, they drive wages down. I say get them all out of here. Tony, I feel the same way. Get them out. And I'm not I do understand that there are people who come in and they add, they bring value, but I'm not naive in thinking that the country can sustain the amount of immigrants that's rushing in, legal or illegal. I'm the lady in purple today. I miss Purple Lady. We used to have a art teacher when I was in school, Durham City schools, and we called her Miss Purple Lady. Miss Purple Lady. She wore purple every single day from head to toe. I wonder where she is and if she's still alive, because I think that may be why purple is my favorite color. I can list 5 different instances of how my life was negatively impacted by illegal aliens. That's from Gabrielle Clark. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Lakeisha, for being here. If I didn't say that before. Hi, deer versus truckers. I bet the deer lose every time. Says, always enjoy your show, Shamika. Thank you so much. Pete says, great replacement theory. Whites, you aborted your kids, you idiots. And that is true for a lot. Jack Burton says, California was a red holdout until Ross Perot ran, taking 20% of the Republican vote, allowing Bill Clinton to win. California has been blue ever since. Pete says, lots of African blacks legal don't have the same American black mentality. They don't. And some of it, I will say, is positive. You know, some will come in and they are hard workers and they don't have this victim mentality where they feel like just because their skin is a certain color, that means they're going to be less or losers, or, you know, they can't learn to read and write and do math. Some of that mentality is very positive. But then there's some other things that I just, you know, we can't co-sign and get with. Okay. Is this a y'all are having your own conversation. Hi, Verna. Thank you for being here. Let's see, Audrey. Some conservatives have been tricked into believing that being in a Signal group chat is now grounds for execution. Did we already forget about Hegseth's famous Signal group chat? Are y'all having a conversation, Audrey? If so, I apologize for hopping in. Sharisa says, I remember when your baby girl graduated early college. Most of all the graduates were Mexican. They definitely were foreign students. And we're talking about in the heart of the Black community. Hey, Kayla Rain, thank you for being here today. Jack says we were about 60% Anglo, or I guess 20% Black, 20 Hispanic. We were, in my high school, 97% Black. Taco, hi. Taco the Great. Here we have a few whole blocks that look like Mexico. Things have certainly changed. I used to work at Food City as a teen, and the most annoying thing is somebody will come up and speak Spanish, and if you didn't understand, they speak English. One of my frustrations, and I will never go back on this. One of my frustrations is the fact that, okay, I grew up, I said I went to a predominantly Black high school. We did take foreign language for 2 years, but I'm talking about we had the very basics. Now, for a lot of these jobs around here, you have to be bilingual. Well, y'all didn't teach us to be bilingual, but now that's one of the requirements for some of the jobs. And you know, even if you're like a receptionist at a hospital, they want you to be bilingual because there's so many Hispanic speaking people. But it's like, y'all didn't teach us to be bilingual. We had, I'm talking about a very minimal amount of foreign language. And when I was in school, you could choose Spanish, French, they did Latin. Nobody said to us at that time, you might want to do Spanish and take a lot of it because the demographics as you know it will change dramatically. Nobody said that to us. and now people can't get jobs. Taco, I look like I speak Spanish, but I have to listen very closely and use context clues to understand. I have a daughter who is fluent in Spanish, but it's like if you aren't around people who constantly speak it, I feel like if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And I know that she does a lot of that too, like having to use the context clues. But we'll be somewhere and I'll hear somebody speaking Spanish, and I'm like, do you understand what they're saying? Gabrielle, my daughter's elementary school switched to speaking Spanish half the day. In a previously all-Black school, we got pushed out by illegals. Wow. Half the day? In some ways, you say, okay, if they're going to keep pushing these people in here, thankfully, maybe she'll learn to speak it and be in a better position than I myself, not having that. But wow, it's like my frustration when you call someone somewhere and they say hit 1 for English and 2 for Spanish. Why do I have to do that? We are in America. And for those of us who want to say, oh, our ancestors came over from Africa, however you want to frame it, your ancestors came over from Africa and they had to learn how to speak English. Nobody was trying to figure out, well, let's take in and learn their language. Granted, it was probably different. I don't know, but listen, we had to speak English. I just feel like if you come over here, you should assimilate and get with the culture. We speak English in these parts of the world, and I just think that's the way it should be. Okay, so is it supposed to be Taco? I'm going to pronounce your name Taco. I say Taco, okay, because y'all know I'm Southern. All right, I'm real Southern. I have family. We say Yalla, Walder. So is it Toco? But I'm gonna say Taco, okay, just so we know. Taco the Great. Yes. Sharisa, Black people are too busy focusing on the messengers and not the message. When Obama had a problem with immigration, it was okay. Yes, let's talk about that. We've been having that conversation here at the house, Sharisa, that when Obama was deporting people, it was no big deal. You didn't see people protesting and being out in the streets, and especially here. I am so sick of them shutting down downtown because they are protesting about what's going on elsewhere. We didn't see that when Obama was in office. We just didn't. And I think it is, people are very inauthentic to act as if this is such a, oh my God, this is Trump. He is racist. He is a neo-Nazi. When you didn't have the same concern when Obama, deporter in chief, deported more illegal immigrants than any recent president. Why wasn't there an issue when Obama was doing it? Everybody was quiet because he was Black and he could get away with anything. Yeah, Angelino, thank you for being here, being nosy. No, I'm just kidding. Christopher Tracy, no immigrant gives a damn about Blacks. And Christopher Tracy, I have to say, I agree. I worked in the school for a little for some time. Let me tell you, it was the immigrants who were more rude, more nasty, more condescending to Black staff than any white person ever walking through those doors. And that's just the honest truth. I'm telling you. Hi, Curtis. Thank you for being here today. Let's see. Christopher Tracy, I have watched Hispanics take over my neighborhoods by buying foreclosed homes that used to be owned by Blacks. Their children are now the majority in the local schools. Wake up, Negroes. Yes. Listen, when my high school crowned the first Hispanic Miss Hillside, I don't know who else was mad. Maybe y'all a DM me and be like, girl, I was mad too, but I didn't want to say it out in public. I was mad, irritated. Sharisa, what is so funny to me is it is more Black people fighting against ICE than legal immigrants related to the unauthorized immigrants. Yeah, a lot of the legal immigrants are minding their business because many of them came in the right way. They did it the right way. They worked hard, and they aren't with people coming in easy, and they don't want them coming in either. They mind their business while we are talking about we need to take up for them because our ancestors like no. Christopher, anchor babies are being planted throughout our schools to take over. See, Christopher, we got just as, you have just as much racism or xenophobia, whatever they want to call it, as I do. We here. Yeah. Christopher says, Blacks will deserve it when immigrants have completely replaced them. And it's funny because I was saying earlier how so many people were upset by Tucker's comments in that podcast, but a lot of them were immigrants who just feel like us as Black people need to be silent about it and move to the side and let them do what they're going to do. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to be silent about it. I absolutely will not. Gabrielle says we couldn't find housing. All of the low income housing was taken up by illegals. That's the way it is. Here, Gabrielle, I'm seeing a lot, and I ride through because my grandmother still lives in the same neighborhood that I grew up in. So I'm there a lot, once a week, if not more. And I'm seeing the change. Like, where are they coming from? Walking to the local Family Dollar, trash all in the yard, bunch of big trucks in the yard, a lot of loud music that I can't catch the rhythm to. It's just Pete says, cut your own grass, you lazy ass mothers. Okay. Christopher says they will buy a Black foreclosure and park half a dozen cars and trucks out front with a gang of kids coming back and forth. I'm telling you, I did not read that comment before I said about the cars and trucks parked in the yard. I hadn't read that comment. We are so brothers and sisters from a different mister or something. Yes, Christopher. Inner city schools now have to devote funds to Spanish speaking. Yes, that's what's happening. I watched it with my own eyes, working in the school system. Thank you for being here. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a good convo to hold. Christopher says American Black children already have the lowest test scores. Right. And now we have to have them dividing their resources with those who can't speak English. I think it's wrong, and parents and people need to wake up. Wake up. Hi, Miguel. Thank you for being here. I'll keep reiterating that this is the government preparing for when the monetary reset happens. They want people divided and against each other because the general public will not get fully compensated. Good point, Miguel. JVC says, I'm a millennial. They required us take a foreign language from middle school all the way through college. When did she's Gen Z, but she's like missing it by like a year. My oldest daughter. I can't really remember when she started to take Spanish. It may have been in those earlier grades. We didn't have it though until the last 2 years of high school. And I'm telling you, we were in there struggling. We were struggling. Hi, Carolyn. Thank you for being here. I don't understand the languages being spoken in my local grocery store. They started selling halal food. And listen, Carolyn, a lot of people are buying into that halal. That's a whole different broadcast by itself, especially for people who proclaim Christianity. That's something that you may want to look into. But talking about the grocery stores, the fast food restaurants, we went into Firehouse Subs and they couldn't speak a lick of English. And not only is that difficult when ordering, it's also difficult if there's an issue and they can't understand what it is you're trying to say. My God, it's so frustrating. Hi, Never Married Dating App. Thank you for being here, and I'm glad you love the show. I'm with you, Christopher. Black American schools need every dime for their English-speaking children. I am with you. Virginia Governor Spanberger already passed a bill making it so the taxpayers will pay for the child care of illegal immigrants. We knew she was going to be a problem. We knew she was going to be an issue. Hi, Graham Cooks. Thank you for sharing this. And you're at work. Oh, let me take you down just in case, you're not supposed to be looking at this while you're at work. Maybe I should stop reading that when you say you're at work. I don't know. Christopher says the net impact of illegals on the tax base makes no sense. Illegals cost more than they contribute. It is that simple. And people will argue you down about that, Christopher. Argue you down about that. 8.58, thank you for being here. They are not just taking bad jobs, but construction, road work, truck driving jobs that are not janitorial or crop pickers. You're right. You are right. They're taking all types of jobs. And it's frustrating, I'm sure, for younger people. I was having this conversation here, like how our grandparents or great grandparents could get these jobs and take care of their families, take care of whole families. And now you just can't. Gabrielle, my sons couldn't find jobs they were trained in because they didn't speak Spanish. And that I'm seeing that a lot. Are you bilingual? No. I speak English. Who is the daughter? You or you? When did you start taking Spanish? I don't remember. Yeah. I remember Shamika Jr. and her video saying, I love Spanish. And she felt like she was bilingual. She probably was like in the 5th grade. But when did you start taking Spanish? I don't remember. And how well do you speak it now? Because I don't think you speak it that good. Oh, I love my babies. Anyway, y'all, JVC says 16-year-old Jerome can't get a job at McDonald's because Consuela took all the night shifts, right? And remember when those jobs used to be for retired people or young people just needing like some type of after school job. You go to McDonald's now, everybody's in there. Everybody that's in there is Hispanic. Yeah, 16-year-old Jerome cannot get a job now. Yeah, Sharisa says a lot of black men didn't want them jobs. I think that's partly true, but I also think we did I think that's a weighted conversation. That's a weighted conversation. I think we should go into that. Because I think it's so weighted. Why? What happened? What happened with the thinking, the mentality of black men in general? Because there was a time when black men would do whatever job they needed to do to take care of their wife and children. They would do what they needed to do, clean toilets, work in with the sewage system. There was a time when they did that and would do a very good job of taking care of their families. So when we say they didn't want those jobs, I think it's a weighted conversation because I think some of that has to do with a mentality shift or change. I don't know. What do you think? She said, we will talk about it. They saw New Jack City. That is part of it. So many people want to be want fast money. Want fast money and want things easy. Anyway, y'all, we are past 3 we are past 3 o'clock. Well past 3 o'clock. I didn't want to do an hour and some change show. I know I started 5 minutes late, but I didn't want to go late. I still wanted to end early. Let me reach out to the investigator because I want us to dive into this. And I want us to have this conversation, Sharisa. That's a good conversation that we need to have. And I would love for black men to, let's have a round table. We need to have a round table, maybe a mixed round table. I don't know. It's going over in my head. I'm going to call you afterwards because I think that's a conversation we need to have. Anyway, I'll be back here tomorrow, shaking my head about something else and going deeper into this conversation. Same place, same time, because I made it through Ice Armageddon, and apparently so did y'all. Thank you for being here. Black people, get in the house. This is not your fight. It's not hurting you. Who is it benefit? I mean, it's not helping you. It's hurting you. Who is it benefiting? It's not y'all. Wake up. Negroes, as Christopher Tracy said. See y'all tomorrow. Peace. I love you.